All right. So we're gonna start. I'll start out with some introductions. We have Jeanette. Tell me how you said your last name, Jeanette.
Yes, it's Puskus.
Huskus. Okay. She serves as the Director of Customer Service at Paxis Institute, providing guidance and support to organizations as they plan for PAX programming. Jeanette has spent over a decade supporting national and international organizations in implementing, expanding, and sustaining PAX throughout their school and community. Jeanette is also an international PAX trainer and works closely with local, state, and international sites in strategic planning for large scale implementation. Jeanette spent over 20 years in special education and in organizational leadership. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. We have April King, who serves as the program manager for youth support at the Family Involvement Center in Flagstaff, where she empowers families as parent peer support partners and coordinates services for youth. Previously, she worked as a certified family teacher at Boys Town in Southern California, running a group home to be a surrogate parent to youth who aged out of the foster care system. April also ran a quality childcare program certified through First Things First from her home for 10 years. As a mother of seven, four of whom she adopted from foster care, she has firsthand experience with the challenges and rewards of parenting. Additionally, April is a trained TBRI trust-based relational intervention practitioner, using trauma-informed care to build trust and strengthen family relationships. Um, all right, doesn't look like our other speaker is here, so I'll hang off on giving her introduction. Hopefully she'll be able to join us, but otherwise, we will kick it off with Jeanette. Jeanette, do you need anything from us? Do you have any slides you want to share or
I do
anything?
have some slides, and I know some of you your names are familiar, so I do have a few slides, but really just to provide some updates around our partnership with Access to offer free training in the state of Arizona. So I will run through my slides real quick and then open it up for any questions, just because sometimes slides are helpful with a visual for you. So, okay, here we go. Hopefully you guys can all see this. Okay. So as we mentioned, my name is Jeanette Puskus. I'm with Paxis Institute, and you've heard the word PAX a lot in my bio. And what is PAX? So let's just talk about what that is, and share also really here to provide again more information about our partnership with Access to continue to offer no-cost trainings throughout your community. As I know, we're in these times now where a lot of funding's been cut and we just don't know how to navigate these situations. We're fortunate that we still have some remaining funding and to offer this support within your community. So what is PAX? We heard that a lot. So Paxis Institute, we're a prevention science company. So really when we think about prevention, that's exactly it. It's getting ahead of things. How do we get downstream to really think about mitigating some of the support and the things that our kiddos and our families are trying to navigate to move from just surviving their environments to actually thriving. So PAX is not an acronym for anything. It's Latin for peace. And what that means is we really just provide evidence-based, trauma-informed, practical strategies in the hands of professionals who support young people and families around the system of care. So everywhere that our kids go, we have a PAX implementation for that. And we're also thinking about how do our families interact with their kids with these practical strategies, putting them in their hands that really take what we know about trauma-informed approach, mental health first aid, really some of these other great programs or trainings that folks go to get their framework of using a trauma-informed approach. But where PAX comes in is actually the practical piece. How do we have those strategies that are each individually based in behavioral support and science to really be able to apply to various settings that our kids and families navigate. So that's where PAX comes in with practical strategies. We're not a manualized curricula or lesson plans. You don't go through a series of parent trainings. It's just those strategies that can be implemented in all the settings that you see. So we'll talk about what that looks like and where we've been in Arizona so far and where we look to continue to grow. So Access has supported implementing PACS across the system of care and really thinking about training our educators, human service professionals, youth development professionals, parents, caregivers, foster care, kinship care providers, again, with these strategies to really create a unified approach to behavior. How do we really help to navigate and reinforce pro-social or the good stuff, positive behavior? How do we increase relationships? And how do we build trust and reliable, consistent adults? When we know that we do those things and we incorporate those into our everyday life, we build self-regulation skills in our kids, which all of our outcomes show help to really reduce, provide some protective factors, but help to reduce those instances of substance misuse, depression, and mental illness as well. So we're going to take a trauma-informed, evidence-based prevention population level. And this approach is also really our due diligence with this grant and this funding is to get these strategies and these resources in the hands that need them most. So those include our tribal, rural, and under-resourced areas within the state of Arizona. So that's our goal. With PACS, what we're talking about, you've heard me say this a few times now already, but we're going to really provide those practical strategies for all adults who work and care for young people and family members. So these things are integrated into your everyday interactions that are going to help to provide improved behavioral, academic, and lifetime outcomes. Not just for the young people that our family members are interacting with and our professionals, but also supporting our workforce development because they're going to have strategies, again, to be able to integrate into their work. Everything that we talk about, we're going to really focus on why it's important to use a trauma-informed approach. We're going to be practical about how to actually teach behavior as a skill, so equipping our families to do that. We're going to talk about why creating a nurturing environment is so important to help to build relationships, and then create some reliable and consistent adults. So those practical pieces to do that. PACS Tools is our community-based programming or trainings. Again, thinking about all the places that our kids and families go in their community. Behavioral health, residential treatment, juvenile corrections, all those places. We're going to provide everyone with a set of strategies to promote self-regulation, reduce conflict, and really improve the environment for our families and for our kids as well. Everything is evidence-based and culturally responsive and appropriate. Because we just stick to the strategies and don't write lesson plans, you just learn how to use them and integrate them with other programs or just in your regular interactions. So who can implement these strategies? Really everyone. We've talked about that a little bit here. And we've done all of these settings across the state of Arizona. So all of these places, we have training specifically for foster parents, out of school time, clinicians, faith-based, and youth workers. So really focusing on different types of trainings. We have about 13 of them covered in this grant, but we're going to focus for this audience exactly on the ones that are going to probably fit really well into the work that you're doing. So PACS Tools for Human Services, all of our trainings can be provided in person, virtually, over Zoom, and we can train a group, your entire community, whatever it is that you need. We have this funding to do that. So PACS Tool for Human Services are really those professionals that work directly with young people. So this is your professional work. We're going to work with you as a counselor or a therapist, behavioral health professional, prevention, all of those settings. This is really the training that we've done in corrections centers as well as in out-of-home placement centers. So providing those professionals with a unified approach to addressing behavior. And again, really providing, mitigating some of those and giving some protective factors for our kids as they navigate their settings. We have training specifically for caregivers. So if you know a group of foster or kinship care providers, grandparents that now have custody of their kids, we're going to provide them with some trainings as well. Again, very practical that they can use right away for all ages. Taking a trauma-informed approach to being able to, create reliable and consistent limits, to gaining focus, and again, to reinforcing really positive behavior. So how do we, water the flowers, right? How do we reinforce the good stuff? And so we're going to give those strategies directly to our parents, foster parents, and kinship care providers. And then this is an ideal training for our peer support workers or anyone who works in that setting where you're working directly with families. We can train you to be able to teach the strategies directly to the families that you work with. So we're going to give you the strategies that can be integrated into other programs or in your regular everyday interactions. So equipping our peer support leaders with those strategies to actually teach other family members. And then we also have an arm in our schools as well, training our educators with these same strategies so our kids are being able to practice these no matter where they go. So each one of our trainings, I'll just give you a little highlight real quick of what that looks like when we go over our strategies. When someone comes to training, we are going to talk about addressing common behavioral challenges with all of our kids. So providing those to our family members, identify strategies to reduce conflict, and then you're going to learn how to apply these multiple strategies to be able to be reliable and consistent to, again, really being able to give those protective factors. We're going to talk about in our trainings why it's important not just to reduce the negative stuff like tell me what to do when my kids are escalating. We're going to talk about that, but how do I also teach and reinforce the good stuff? So we have that balance. So we talk about that in those trainings, and then we just jump right into strategies. Each one of our strategies, when you come to training, you learn about 11 of them that individually can be used throughout your day. But we want you to think of these as tools. We're going to first, with each one of our strategies, talk to you about the problem. So what are some things we might have noticed with our kids or in our settings? And then we're going to talk about what is the strategy to address that. So what's the problem statement? And then what's the strategy? We're going to give you the recipe to do this. So exactly step by step to utilize the strategy in your setting. We're going to talk about all the different ways to implement this strategy. So here's some things you can think about when you're using sticks for randomized selection. So thinking about those things that cause a lot of conflict in your home. So we're going to give you those strategies to really think about. And then we're going to talk about the outcomes. What are those long-term and short-term benefits of using this strategy? So each one of these are going to fall into exactly that, that pacing throughout the training of why these things are going to be able to be practical in nature, but these outcomes and really the background of why we want to do this. So these are just some outcomes that we're seeing across really the state of Arizona as well. But post-training, we use these norm measures. We use the strength and difficulties questionnaires to really look at post-training and then about 8 weeks of implementation of what we see with our workforce or those that are trained. So those that are trained as youth workers are feeling confident when they leave training that these strategies are going to work with the young people that they work with. We're looking at strategies for appropriate for the kids in their care. So our caregivers, our foster families are really seeing these practical implementation. And then noticing improvements in their own well-being, being able to really navigate those situations when they're working with young folks in their settings to really help their own efficacy in their professional role. Now, to highlight some of the work that we've done in Arizona, some of the big picture things, we've trained all of Chinle Unified School Districts, so all of their teachers, educators, bus drivers, family members, in PACs, so they have a unified approach. We're going to go in again this summer and work with their new staff and then just kind of recalibrate their training as well. So really thinking and taking a unified community approach to teaching behavior. We worked with congregate care, so Red Hawk Ranch in Lakeside, Arizona. This is our congregate care setting where they've trained every single person that comes in contact with their kids. So all of their staff members, they supported PACs outside of their organizations who also train their teachers, so where their kids are going to school. And then as the kiddos are being reunified with their family members, they're also training those parents and caregivers. So as the kiddo goes home, those family members are also having these behavioral strategies that can be utilized in their settings. Paul McCurtain who runs Red Hawk Ranch, really saw the benefits and started to write this in to implement that uniformed approach and help to obtain their QRTP and CARF accreditation using PACS as well. This is exciting work that we're doing at the Arizona Department of Corrections, the Bachman and Manzanita units, where we're actually training incarcerated adults and those that are navigating recovery and rehabilitation to train them along with the staff members in these strategies so that they're using them throughout their day in all their settings to, again, reinforce behavior, come up with some shared approach to expectations, and then train the those that are serving a life sentence, the incarcerated individuals, as peer, giving them a meaningful role. So training them to be peer support professionals so that they are actually training their peers as they're being released from these centers and reunified with their kids. So thinking about how in our incarcerated settings, our adult recovery and rehabilitation settings, that we're training staff with those participants together, and then the participants as peer support specialists to provide these workshops directly to their peers as they're reunified with their kids. So really equipping everyone with these trauma-informed strategies. And then our NFF across in many states using this peer support model, providing workshops so that they're trained to be able to again, provide these workshops in their settings. And we've done this work in many states that you can see here, and Arizona is just one of them. So all I'm here again is a lot of words for you to share information, but again, all of our trainings are fully funded through Access. These go through the end of September, and then we are also going to have extended funding beyond that. So we would love to get and support your community through these no-cost trainings with materials. So all you need to do is email me at info@paxis.org, and I'm happy to work with you and your organization to get these trainings in their hands as well. So happy to answer any questions, but you can reach me. I'll put that in the chat box as well.
So what are the ages of the peer supports?
So peer support, what we want to do is anyone who is working directly with families. So as an adult, as a peer support, you would train and you could become a community educator. So then you could teach these strategies directly to your peers, to other family members. So that's when we talk about that peer support. We do have trainings that are youth-led prevention. So if you are a youth mentor, but that's not covered right now in the state of Arizona, but we hope to be able to extend that as we move into the new fiscal year in October. But
that would be nice. Very nice.
I know. Well, so we have it going on in Kansas and in Ohio, but coming soon to a town near you in Arizona. That should be coming soon to do that.
So you said in Kansas, so they allow younger people to participate, or you still have to be over 18?
No, so it depends on the funding and how the grant is worked. So in Kansas, it's written that way that in there they have a youth led. So we do youth mentor training, and so they actually provide those trainings. It's really part of the work that they're doing as peer mentors as adolescents. In Ohio, we do that as well with our Boys and Girls Clubs. So they have a really robust youth mentor program, and so we have funding in Ohio to do that work as well. So coming soon to Arizona, we hope to be able to do that with adolescents.
So this wouldn't be under Medicaid funding then?
No, all of it is not connected to Medicaid because it's all funding. You don't have to qualify Medicaid. It's just here. So come on, come all.
Nice.
Yeah. So I will make sure that you get this information here. Yeah, but yeah, we have this funding, and Access said just do your due diligence with the funding and go get all those that want to be trained to be trained. So that's the exciting part here, that we can help get this in your entire community. So all materials, all training, and we have in-person and trainings over Zoom. So happy to work with your entire organization to train. We can do 400 people at a time if that's what you had. So
anybody have any questions that are coming up? Well, I have one in the meantime. I really love trainings like this that give you really approachable, tangible things you can do like right now instead of things that you have to set up and prepare for, etc.
Right. And yeah, and that's the beauty of it is where, there are a lot of great things out there, a lot of programs, and maybe you have to go and do a parenting series or 8 weeks of something. And that's not what this is. This will integrate and support that. But really, it just comes down to we're going to do a level set about why using a trauma-informed approach is important, and then just jump right into the strategies. Everything practical in nature. And so that way you walk out of there and say, okay, I know how I can use these three in my everyday work with my own kids or in my professional setting or with the families that I support. So there's no series. It's come and get training. And then once you're trained, you're always trained. So you have access to all of our resources forever. So there's no additional recertifications or anything.
I'm wondering if you could share one of the lessons that you use most often in your life.
Oh, easy. So, well, not easy, but my daughter is actually in recovery. I have an adult daughter who's in recovery. And we're actually launching a really great pilot program here in where she's at in Ohio, where we're training and doing these strategies with women in recovery. So going into recovery centers and rehabilitation centers, and really focusing on giving them some strategies as well. And that's been really helpful because we use our lived experience, and the strategy that is the most effective for us that we still use is a shared vision. And so where that really comes in handy is she talks about this a lot in the recovery side, where having her voice heard in what she needs it to look like and sound like in even her treatment or her meetings or when she's working with her therapist, so that they're on the same page with aligned expectations, and then using those same strategies for her relationship with me where we're in aligned with our shared expectations, and just giving her that ability to be empowered with her own voice, where a lot of times we don't know how to do that. That's not a skill that we take for granted, that we are able to speak up and share what we need it to look like. And so that's definitely one I use in my professional setting with my own daughter. And then she uses it in her setting as well. So okay, so an ABA focused environment. So what we've done is really, those of you that are do ABA, you look at these strategies and go like, okay, I know what you did here. You took a strategy where you're really thinking about reduced allocated time or improve focus learning time. And took this strategy and just really kind of made it applicable and practical in nature. So a lot of folks in ABA go, yep, I know exactly what you're doing here. You're teaching reinforcement, you're teaching peer support, you're teaching collaboration, you're teaching really how do you gain those behavioral skills and do some replacement behavior here. But you've stripped it away of all the things that make it difficult for the practical person to implement into their everyday lives. And so really integrates with all other programs that you might be doing, even in schools or when you're professional work directly with kiddos, but made it so that whether you're at a clinician or someone who's a behavioral analysis or a behavior technician can apply those no matter what, because they're very just practical in nature. So it'll integrate, but it is based in ABA. You'll see that someone who is, they'll go like, oh yeah, that's what you're doing here, but make it just really practical in nature. So it's been really effective as well. So think about like your youth workers or your boys and girls clubs that they're teenagers themselves and they're trying to, mentor and volunteer in these settings, and they quite don't understand sometimes how to work with kids. It's being able to give them those practical strategies as well.
I can tell you really care about this.
I do. It's near and dear to my heart. I've been doing it for a long time, and we're excited to do this work. Like I said, continue the work in Arizona, but hope to be able to. Arizona's on the has been the model for other states. So had it not been for Arizona doing this work in our Bachman and Manzanita units, in the recovery units, and with our adults in incarceration, that wouldn't have been the model for what's happening in Ohio now, because it was to see the impact of when you teach staff and those that are navigating those difficult situations to really learn how to reinforce the good stuff and create meaningful, nurturing environments. And then when you're reunified with your kids, now you have some skills to hopefully be able to, again, get ahead of it and really think about population level prevention. That's what we want to do here. And so, but Arizona has just been able to really set the foundation for what's happening in other places that we're expanding to. So exciting stuff.
So I know very little about the children's system, and a lot of this is in that area, but I've been very impressed. I think some of you guys heard, I saw Reach. I was at a conference this weekend, and how they brought their young people, and there were 6 of them, 9 years old up until 15. And I was just so taken aback by young people coming up, looking me in the eye, sitting down, asking if they could sit down, and then having this conversation, showing an interest in me. And we found an interest. I mean, they guided the conversation. I didn't even know this was going to happen. And then they get up and, you know, they spoke for a little bit. But one of the things that they really emphasize is the human connection. And this to me,
That's
you know,
it.
Pardon?
Yeah, that you're exactly right. That's it,
This
Kathy.
is so I want to take it a step further, and that is that the coalition has been reaching out to people, especially in prison. And some of us here on this venue have spent years in mental hospitals, or even experiencing, you know, when you become mentally ill during your teens, you lose that socialization. And the thing that's really striking me is all of a sudden you get out of prison or out of the hospital, or medication starts working, and then what? There's this silence. It's like you don't have the tools to really, you know, to socialize, how to meet people. And fascinates me because there just seems to be a huge gap.
That's exactly right. We know is without collaboration, without skill building, without that social interaction, it really helps to set the foundation, right, for everything we do. And you know, when we are in those the recovery world, what we know is when we're in the environments where we're building the skill sets is important, but what happens when you leave that environment?
Yes,
It's
yes.
teaching you here so that when you leave the environment, you have the skills to navigate in those environments that might not be as supportive. And so giving you those skill sets, again, that are practical in nature. It's to say, okay, I went to trauma-informed training and that's great, but what do my hands do now? Like, how do I do that? What are the practical parts to build collaborative, meaningful relationships and have those skills? And that's exactly what we're doing here. So yeah.
I'm exciting, very exciting.
Any final questions for Jeanette? Okay, well, her email address is in the chat, and I imagine we will send it out with our notes afterwards. And if you want to send your slides along,
I'll download them. I'll put them as a PDF, and then that way it makes it easier to see those.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
All right. April, are you ready?
I am. Hold on one second. I don't have a slideshow.
Okay, that's okay.
But so hold on one second. So having a supportive team is important for families navigating challenging situations that involve their children. At Family Involvement Center, our mission is to support families and youth as they work through various obstacles. I'm April King, and I'm the program manager for youth support at Family Involvement Center in Flagstaff, Arizona. Family Involvement Center is dedicated to empowering families and enhancing the well-being of youth facing emotional, behavioral, and mental challenges. We strive to create a supportive environment where families can thrive and children can grow into resilience and healthy adults. At the heart of our program is a commitment to trauma-informed care. We recognize the profound impact of trauma that it can have on children's behavior and emotional health, and we apply this understanding across all of our services. Our team is trained in trust-based relational interventions, which is designed to address the needs of children who have experienced trauma. TBRI emphasizes building trust, providing connection, and fostering a sense of safety, which are essential for healing and growth. Our programs include parent peer support, which connects parents with lived experience to share insights and strategies. These parents are people that have had lived experience with kids that have been having some sort of trauma or behavioral health need or some kind of system involvement. So a lot of the kids that we work with or the families that we work with have trauma. And so we make sure that all of our services are rooted in trauma-informed practices. We also have counseling for youth and adults. We offer skills training programs to create and promote self-esteem, resilience, and positive social connections. And throughout all of them, we look at it through a trauma-informed lens. We also provide parenting classes that utilize trauma-informed strategies. These classes equip parents with the skills to create a safe and nurturing environment for their children. We really emphasize the importance of understanding trauma and how it affects behavior. We try to help the parents to have practical tools that they can use in their lives. So some of the things that we do to help them is in Flagstaff, we have parent support groups. We have actually a group of parents that have been enrolled in our parent support group for probably about 3 years at this time. It's a group of probably 10 people that have come consistently. And I think my favorite day that we did this was the day that I saw all of the parents start to exchange phone numbers. And I was just like, we've just created natural supports for these families. And they talk to each other, they call each other, they do stuff together. Once there's like 2 sets of parents that their kids are consider each other their best friends. So they have sleepovers and stuff at their home. And so they've built like a really strong community, and they really do consistently come to these programs. During these parent support groups, which we do for sure once a week, but we've added another thing, which is a book club. And so the last book that we did was called Raising Kids with Big Baffling Behaviors, which is a trauma-informed book based on TBRI, written by Robin Gobble. And it gives very practical skills to the parents of kids with big baffling behaviors. So we spent a long time. We just finished it about 3 weeks ago, and we started in June because the parents were so excited about this book and learning these skills that they spent tons of time asking questions and having conversations about their own families and their own kids and what was going on in their lives, which we were able to help them come up with specific strategies for their kids and hear from other parents what things worked for them using this trauma-based approach. So we promote family support in those kinds of ways and try to help them build natural supports with each other. We also do things like go to court with families who are enrolled with DCS and their kids have been removed from them. And that trauma, we will help them through the entire process, including going to court with them and offering them that service helping them get the services needed that they need to do to reunify, and helping them understand what is the difference between checking off boxes and making behavioral changes. What are protective factors? How do we change this so that DCS feels really safe sending our kids home to us? And then when their kids come home to them, we're able to teach skills to their kids who have been in a traumatic experience, no matter what the reason for removal. The act of removal itself is traumatic, and coming home to a mom who has been deemed not a good parent, and from the perspective of a child, that is what the kid sometimes sees, helping them learn that their parents are trying and doing the best that they can with the information they have, and helping them reunify with them in more than just getting them back home, but helping them to like navigate parenting them after they had these trauma situations happen for them. We do youth support. In our youth support program, we do skills training. All of our youth support are trained to use the strategies from trust-based relational interventions, which can include things like simple things like when a kid screams at you because they're frustrated, asking them simply, can you please say that again with respect? And then the kid would rephrase what they say, but it's trauma informed because it's not like aggressive towards them. We're not saying, hey, you just talked with me with disrespect. We're saying, hey, can you try that again with respect? And then it's a magic, because the kids will be like, okay, can I please have that? And they'll change their behavior. And these strategies are just simple strategies to help them to not feel attacked. So it's really cool. Or you, instead of saying, I need you to look at me right now, we might say something like, can I see those beautiful eyes? Which really like, and, or like, it's, if a kid is really like mad, you can say, can I see your orange eyes? And they'll look at you like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh my God, I see your eyes. And like, it just gives you like these really cool strategies that are not going to cause the kid to escalate more when they're already frustrated. And so we use those kind of strategies with our youth support. We teach them those strategies so that they can use them. And then I would come alongside, or my other parent peer support partners would come alongside and teach these strategies to the parents. So they're learning it on both sides. Often the parents will come work with me, and my youth support providers will work in the other room with the kids, and then we'll come back together and give the parent a chance to use these skills that they're learning, which is really helpful. So those are some of the things that we do to create that experience for their parents. It's kind of like a holistic approach in our program in Flagstaff, and there are a lot of programs like that in Phoenix and Tucson. Also, our services are available in Flagstaff, Prescott, Phoenix and the surrounding areas, and Tucson and the surrounding areas. While we mostly serve people that have access, we also have some grant funded programs, including the HTH program, which is Healing the Hurts. It is a grant we got from SAMHSA, where we are able to serve children who are ages 6 to 18, who have been able to like have a positive screening for trauma, and we can provide counseling, individual and family counseling to them, and we can provide family support to them through this grant, even if they make too much money for access but don't have other insurance. So that's really helpful to help some of those families that are in that mid-range get the support they need based on their children's trauma or their own trauma in their families. We have other grant programs in different areas, such as Parents for Parents, and Parent Allies who go to court with the families in Phoenix area. And we have a Dad Together program, which really focuses on like helping dads with getting support. A lot of systems that are used are very mom focused. So a lot of times when you're a foster parent, the agency will call and ask for mom. When you're a parent who's in DCS, they sometimes just write off dad and only communicate with mom. And so Dad Together just kind of like helps support dads to learn how to advocate for themselves. Teaching parenting skills. We use Nurturing Parents with the dads and help them go through processes to learn some parenting skills and learn how to advocate for their families also. We have ability for you guys to find out more about our information by going to familyinvolvementcenter.org, or you can call the Parent Assistance Center at 602-288-0155. So please feel free to connect if you're interested in any of these services, or you think that this would be something that would be helpful for families that you know. So that is pretty much what we do. Do you have any questions?
So I do, obviously.
Okay.
I always have questions, April. Thank you. It was a very nice presentation. So you're in Flagstaff, right? So,
Mhm.
so historically, the coalition and FIC have worked very closely together. And where we have been dismayed is the referrals. The lack of referrals and the challenges that FIC has had and other specialty providers. So is that changing at all yet? Or it's very
One thing
frustrating.
that has become a little bit better is that we can do no wrong doors now, so that we can get people wanting to sign up for Family Involvement Center from any, like if we were doing like an outreach thing and we had someone sign up, we can enroll them if they're on Access and then connect them back to a behavioral health home. One of the, I think the biggest problems is that there's a very different line, that there's confusion maybe with a lot of the behavioral health homes about what family support is, because it's the same code that
Yeah.
a provider, a coordinator at Child and Family Services uses as what we use. It's the same code. So they don't understand the difference, and they'll say to their people, well, I already provide family support to you. The difference with what we do and what they do is, a lot of times, and there's no disrespect, there's amazing 24-year-olds, but there's a very big difference with having a 24-year-old who's never had a child try to teach you how to parent and try to connect with you as a parent, or someone like me who's had 103
Five
children
foster
that I've
kids.
raised. So like literally 103 with all the group homes that I worked at. But being able to say to them, I've been there, I've dealt with that, that is a very different situation than someone coming in who's never had a child trying to tell you how to parent. Parents feel like they're being judged. They are being judged. There's a lot of times where it's the parent's fault. According to, like, I've gone on to many meetings and I have to go, whoa, let's take a step back and look at the perspective of a parent. Look at what she's going through. You're really upset that she's not making it to her drug testing, but she doesn't have a car. You're trying to get her to work full time. She's trying to have a job, like being able to like just help people take a step back and like kind of look, teaching parents to have a family voice and teaching them to advocate for themselves is like super important. I remember, and this is like just a little story about my 28-year-old who has autism, and in first grade, I wanted to help her get that diagnosis by going to an IEP meeting. Well, I was a professional in a sense. I was a group home parent for Boys Town at that time, and I had meetings with the school for IEPs for several of my kids that day. And then I went in as a parent. I went in telling them that the kids in my group home needed this, this, and this, and they were all like, okay, let's write it down. They changed all kinds of stuff for me that day. I went into the same room with the same teachers and the same administrators as my own, as a parent to my own child. And they acted like I had no idea what I was talking to. It was the craziest situation in my life. And I ended up in tears going, I have no power for my own child, even though I have power for the kids that I work with. So it's a very different to be able to help a parent learn how to advocate, how to be seen as someone who has value at the table. And so what we do is very different than someone who just comes alongside and tries to help the parent on top of other services. So trying to explain that to them would probably help them make the report, make the referrals, but it doesn't always go that way because the turnover rate at behavioral health homes is crazy big. And so a lot of times I've built a relationship with one set of providers at an agency, and then a year later it's a whole new set of providers that don't understand. So it's a lot of explaining again why do they need this service when they have me. So sorry. Well,
No, that's exactly, it helps explain it. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions for April? April, my question is this TBRI, is that like a class with series, or is it just more of a philosophy and model that you use throughout your services?
so it can be a class. We can teach providers. There are two of us that are certified as we're able to train people. And it's like 3 to 5 days, very intensive training to learn the strategies. But it is also a philosophy. We use it, we learn it. We teach our staff, and then they use that information to provide services, help with understanding about trauma to parents and families and youth about what trauma is, how it affects you, and teaching parents some of the very practical strategies that we use for trust-based relational interventions.
Sounds really useful.
It's really amazing, actually. I use it with my kids, and it's life-changing, especially when you have kids with really big baffling behaviors. And there is a really large amount of adoptive parents that kind of give up after a certain time when their kids have big behaviors. And I really think that these tools would help prevent some of that, because I don't think that the training for foster care is adequate a lot of times. I'm sure there are great trainings out there, but when I was trained as a foster parent, I was told to use when and then. I mean, it was like a couple of minutes of training on how to parent a kid from foster care, and it was not anything more than like active parenting, which is helpful for typical kids, but not necessarily for kids with trauma or behavioral needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's challenging. Well, thank you, April. I want to move on to our final speaker, but that was really great, April. If you want to put your information in the chat so folks can reach out if they have any questions, that'll be great. Suma Hodge, am I saying your name right, Suma?
Yes.
Okay, great. Suma Hodge is an accomplished licensed professional counselor and behavioral health professional with extensive experience and expertise in trauma, substance abuse, and serious mental illness. She serves as the regional clinical director for My Kid, overseeing trauma informed care across multiple states. Suma's recently appeared on Fox 10 and Good Morning Arizona to share awareness on mental health, parenting, and therapeutic interventions and warning signs. Suma's commitment is further evident through her mental health advocacy and involvement in educational initiatives. Beyond her professional roles, she is a world traveler, mom, and an inspiration to many. Suma's diverse roles showcase her dedication to the well-being of individuals and communities, making her a valuable figure in the mental health field. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Looks like you requested access to share your screen. Are you able to share it, or do you need me to do anything?
Yep, got it now.
Okay, great. We're excited to have you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I am coming to you guys bright and early here from My Kid. We are an organization that is family ran. So we work on focus on improving the behavioral health and the wellness of children and youth. So we work with individuals from birth all the way up to 25. And we utilize a family-centered approach, strength-based approach, and a therapeutic trauma-informed care approach. My kid, we grew from a mother who had difficulties finding resources and became overwhelmed with the lack of services that Arizona had. So Sue Gilbertson founded My Kid for her son Eric so that she will be able to become advocate and teach other individuals and other parents and family members how to be advocates for their children. And this first started in her support group back in 1985. So we are a family-run organization. So over 51% of our board and 80% of our staff have lived experience in and addressing behavioral health challenges with their own families. So we service about 4,000 youth and their families every year across 8 locations in Arizona, and then we have 1 new location in Colorado. So we have individuals from all the way up in Bullhead City by um, Las Vegas, all the way down to Nogales, right outside of Mexico. So we service a wide range of individuals. And with My Kid, we focus a lot on understanding how behavioral health and mental health affects not just the individual themselves who are going through, but their families as well. So we do a lot of work with advocating and teaching individuals how to do that. So we provide many different services, from direct services where we provide respite for families, which is rest and relief. So when you have more difficult behaviors of your kiddo, we are able to take the child from the home so that you can maybe meet the needs of your other child, maybe be able to go food shopping, maybe attend your doctor's appointment where you wouldn't be able necessarily be able to do so previously. One little second here. My nanny canceled on me today. Sorry about that. So with My Kid, we capitalize on obviously being a family-ran organization and focus a lot on families. So we help them to develop tools. So we utilize living skills. Living skills is a great practice that we have where we work with the kids to develop important skills development, such as managing their anger, managing their aggression, handling any feelings of depression, and more importantly, trauma. We came to understand that a lot of our kids that come into services have some level of experience with trauma. Our families have some level of experience with trauma, whether it's due to learning how to advocate on their own with their provider, such as their doctor, learn how to advocate for services within the school agency. We had to come in and we support the family. We don't do the advocating for them, but we support them and learn how to do the advocating for themselves. So we provide additional support, learning how to understand what resources are available and provided and supposed to be provided to their kids. That's where My Kid comes in. So My Kid, with these programs that we offer both for kiddos all the way up to 25 or adults, with some of these programs, which I'm going to share some flyers that we have here. My Kid alters family dynamics. We help them to break down barriers, stigmas, and more importantly, we want to make sure that they create healthy communities where our young people can thrive and be successful for whatever that looks like for them. We serve, again, children and youth, and we work on autism, anxiety, all the ranges. We have peer support, which is our organization have two levels of peer support. We have peer support where our younger individuals who may have their own personal difficulties with mental health and behavioral health. And so they identify as being a peer. So they work closely with the children themselves and what they have gone through. And what we do is that we certify peers in our agency as well. So we're able to certify our staff members as well as other outside communities who may be interested in that, as well as kiddos who may be interested in becoming a peer support themselves. So we utilize that program, and we have family support, which is another level of peer support, where a family member, whether a parent, a guardian, a sibling who may have had to help their loved ones learn how to navigate the system, learn how to be able to find the supports that are relevant and important to the individual to thrive and to make it. So that family support, although they may not have the diagnosis themselves, but they had to learn it. So you have someone who can walk alongside you, and to avoid making similar mistakes that they made, you can have someone that can help you to avoid those things. So we focus on prevention. So learning how to strengthen the families before any difficult things may happen. And then navigation. So this is where we're learning and teaching how to navigate the system of mental health, behavioral health, the medical aspect of things, getting medication, learning how to navigate within the schools, and understanding resources within the community that is available to you. And we learn how sometimes and how to navigate the case plan that may be happening if your child was maybe removed by DCS. And learning how to be able to reunify the family back together. And that program specifically is called Parent Support Now. We work specifically with DCS, where in the court systems, and understand what that person's case plan is so that the unification is possible. We have a good reunification turnout where we have over 70% of our families are reunified within the first year of the removal that took place. So we don't just leave and discharge once the member is returned back home. We still continue with family support. So now they move over from our Parent Support Now program to our Family Support program, where they are now able to get that additional support, because we know that the removal from the home is traumatic. Even if they're removed from the home and they are placed with a family member that they are aware of, it's still traumatic because it's not that consistent situation and structure that they were used to before, even if that structure was toxic for them. So we stay in the home, still working with the families to ensure that they have the parental skills that are necessary. We utilize active parenting program. We are getting ready to introduce our program called Growing Great Kids, and we are training our staff in that program as well. And with the use of these programs that are evidence-based, we prepare our parents to be reunified with their child and to be better prepared on providing parental skills and navigation as appropriate. So this is one of our flyers here, and I will be sure to send it over to Lori and Mackenzie right after we complete here. Another program that we offer, we have counseling services here in My Kid. We have it in 7 of our locations. One of our locations, which is the Yuma, is more of our virtual location where we provide counseling services. And what we do is that we also provide to them group counseling as necessary too. So in those counseling sessions, either you can refer as, you're asking for services for a kiddo, or you may observe it in some of the challenges that we may see. So they may come in for just, parent support groups, or they may come in for respite or living skills. And we may notice as a provider that there's some additional challenges, and we see that they may be beneficial for them to participate in counseling, and we will also recommend that. We have a program called Transitional Age Youth, which we call TAY, and that is also statewide. And that TAY program works specifically with our youth that are 13 years old up to the age of 25, and teach them a little bit different skills, such as getting ready and prepare for what life in adulthood may lead them down. So we provide additional support, such as learning how to cook, balancing checkbook, being able to know how to food shop. So we teach them how to budget, what to look for those things, how to keep a home. So cleaning aspect of things. We go through all that living skills that they will need as they continue to grow and head into adulthood. Sometimes they may be wanting to go to college, so we prepare them for what that may look like. Or if it's being able to prepare for the workforce, then we support them on resume building, getting outfits and suits prepared for interviews, mock interviews. So we provide additional support service in TAY. We utilize our Casey to kind of see where they may have more challenges over another. So we also include that in being able to identify what we need to work on primarily first in preparation for that child. Then we have another program, our health and wellness program. Our health and wellness focuses on the 8 dimensions of wellness. And in those dimensions, you receive different services as it relates into that. And it tells us what area that we need to work on with you. And your services are geared towards that. Your goals are geared towards that area of the 8 dimensions that the kid may be struggling in. We cover those 8 areas. We do something we call our gladiator fitness, and we have our health and wellness coordinators that controls those, and they have a huge day where they have a DJ, they have food, a cookout, and they have obstacle courses, and it's just a huge day of fun where they are participating in a day of covering their 8 dimensions. So we make sure we talk about all those areas. We have guest speakers that come in and support them through that too. So it's a really, really great program. Here we can kind of talk about a little bit more of our programs, the areas in which we serve, of course, the 8 areas that we have here in Arizona. And we right now only focus on those who have access insurance. We don't service any other individuals with SMI at this time. We do work with those who may have SED. We do provide services to them, but you have to have access, no commercial insurance or such right now. So yeah, any additional questions that you may have for me?
I got a comment.
Hi.
So Sue Gilbertson was a very close friend of mine. It's wonderful to see how the program has grown over the years and it made such an impact in our community. And I think my question is, recently we've had a lot of budget cuts, and I'm sure you're impacted. And this has definitely impacted the morale of a lot of people that work in the system. So what are you guys doing for your staff as far as trauma and coping, not only with the budget cuts, but how it affects people and happening right now?
Absolutely. So I'm my kid's biggest champion when it comes to trauma informed care. And the biggest thing that they will tell you about me is I talk a lot about self-care, a lot about self-care. My kid has a rolling PTO, so we do offer out time to make sure that they have time off. They don't get like a set amount. Oh, you got 5 weeks. No, it's continuously growing. Me, for one, I can speak personally as a supervisor of my clinicians. I make my clinician take time off. I'm basically making mandatory that they have to take time off and they have to be able to meet, and whatever they do, even if they sit at home and stare at the wall, like I tell them, I'm okay with it. If you're getting close to your maximum of your hours, then I am making sure that you're taking that time off and spending with family wherever you want to go or do. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy about my kid. And they really are big about family orientation. So we do have events that take place in a lot of our sites. And if you're not working, then you're able to bring your kiddo to attend. My kid is super involved in a lot of the services that are being rendered. And we do also, some of our areas do offer services to family members who are also employees. So they're getting double the support services. So they're not stressed about having to work in this field, which is already stressful enough, as we all know, but also being able to know that their kiddo is getting that same amount of care and support. So we do offer that too. And so my kid is really big on ensuring that trauma is an area of importance. So when I came on board about almost 5 years ago, trauma-informed care training is a training that they receive from the beginning of their services before they even get their own caseload. It is a mandatory training, a 2-hour training that they receive from me. I'm a certified clinical trauma professional. I study complex trauma. So not only through training, but I also went educationally wise and went back to school to earn a certification in trauma. So they receive that from me. And although they get the understanding of what trauma-informed care actually is, they learn more about what trauma looks like in our families. I also talk to them about what trauma looks like in them, how to identify when they may be experiencing trauma and how they could support themselves by getting through that. So I also provide an additional amount of resources for them, such as make sure that you get involved in volunteering outside of work, faith-based groups if necessary, make it time for families, working on developing your own goals and spending time making sure that you reach them by taking smaller steps. So many different things, and that's embedded in the trauma training itself. So you're not just getting a training with all this information and possibly, re-traumatization of yourselves. Because like we said, we have a lot of peers. So it could be re-traumatizing as well. So we talk about what that looks like and how their signs for them personally are, and so that they can share that information with their loved ones and share with us as their managers so that we know what to look for as well. And we can identify and say, hey, maybe it might be time for some EAP programming, which is one we offer, or maybe some time off may be beneficial for you. We monitor overtime, very much so that not necessarily financial reason, but monitoring overtime to make sure that no one is overextending themselves. We're very important for our staff to know that we have boundaries. So no answering phone calls at 12 a.m. Sometimes it may be hard not to do that. You want to be there for your families, but we really, really push that we have a work-life balance. And the only way to do that is if you maintain boundaries, and that starts from the beginning.
So I guess, thank you. That was a very nice answer. I'm very pleased to hear all this. So for the three of you guys, have any of your agencies been affected by the budget cuts?
We see it left and right with our families, not families, with our kiddos that we were working with. So our providers have been faced with a lot of challenges financially. We try to do our best to provide market value payment, but the budget cuts has been drastically hurting everywhere, right? And we have a lot of families. Like I said, we serviced 4,000 families last year, and I know it's only going to increase as these kind of things continue to happen. Parents losing their jobs. It's only going to continue to happen with the stress levels. So we do our best to try to maintain our staff. Like I said, we're really good in our benefits package that we offer to try to keep the families, to keep the providers enticed in our programs. So we do our best to try to maintain them, but we understand that other things may be more beneficial, and we appreciate the time that they give to us, value that time, and make sure that they know that. And we try to hire as much as possible, but it definitely has been more than just a challenge, I would say. It's been sad. I will use that term more specifically. It's been sad because having people leave when our kids already been through so much trauma, having them leave, it's only creating that abandonment thing again. So we're hoping that something irons out in some very, very near future.
I think for us, the biggest thing, like the actual thing that has happened was we were able to get practitioner training for Triple P and be a part of a program for child abuse Arizona, I believe. There was a grant that they had to teach it and train people to teach it, and it was canceled. That's the only one that I've actually seen, like an actual cancellation of something that we provided previously at this time. And hoping that's it. But
So
Yeah.
what about the other speaker? So you know, it appears as a community, and we have many different communities in Arizona, but we're going, I mean, this is, I suspect, just the start of a lot more.
Mhm.
And I think we need to start thinking about how we are going to work together more, and probably how we're going to involve volunteers. You know,
Mhm.
what are some of the ways that we can meet this need, this increasing need, and especially the despair and what is happening as a result of the budget cuts?
Ooh. That's definitely that's a big one. Uh, I'm not even sure how we are going to prepare for that. I know that our CEO works really closely with our board. Uh, our upper management, our senior management works really closely on trying to figure out different ways to be able to support there. We have a great board, a lot of different areas in which they are professionals in. So they're coming with their own recommendations and their own ideas. We like to maintain and retain a lot of our staff as much as possible as we can. So I'm interested on how they plan to address that. So I'm right up there with you in that question, but I know they're actively working on it. They try to give out bonuses as much as possible, even if it's something small like $100. It's just something to let the staff know that we care, that we're trying to do our best, you know. And we like to help them focus a lot more on engagement instead of productivity. How do we get our members engaged? We don't want to use that word productivity, which can usually have a sour taste to it. So we try to soften even the way that we deliver things with a therapeutic, trauma-based approach, right? Just hearing the word productivity can be traumatizing in a lot of ways. So I know that they're definitely focused on how they're going to address that as they prepare for more budget cuts to come. We haven't lost any of our programs thus yet, fortunately enough, or had to make any additional changes. We tend to add things to make us more enticing, such as the counseling, capitalizing on that. We recently just added Too Good for Drugs as part of our evidence-based curriculum practice now too, to make us enticing as service in all of our areas. So we are getting the trainer to come and train all of our TAY, the transitional age youth providers, and some additional providers on how to deliver the evidence-based curriculum. And then we also add in this new program of Growing Great Kids, so that, and we'll be soon adding Birth to Five, so that we can, you know, develop those additional, I guess, support services in-house as well. We are adding additional collaborations with community resources in a lot of areas. So even if we just had them come as guest speakers, collaborating on working with them on a grant if necessary, so that we can have that level of relationship. So we're trying a lot of different areas, although it may add additional work to some of us in certain roles, such as mine. I'm willing to do it to ensure that we don't stop serving the families in which they need us, because we work in all those rural areas. So I know that they're doing their best.
Kelly or April, I'm sorry.
I don't, have any more to add. What she said is perfect, pretty much what we are doing.
Thanks for your all's dedication. This is a often unappreciated position and place to be in, but you truly are making massive impacts in people's lives. So thank you.
Thank you. We're trying. We're trying to do our best and stay here, because these families and kids, they need us, all of our agencies, to work together to make them successful and live the life in which they envision for themselves.
Mhm.
I suspect on some level that we're gonna have to work on policy and some of the rules that have come down. During COVID, we did have this, we had waivers that were very helpful, and perhaps as we move forward, you know, I think it's more collaboration and lightening up of some rules that could be very helpful. And, you know, collaboration with different agencies. So We shall see. I hope those that be are in the process of thinking about this.
I
We
think
sure
that
do hope so.
I think that it would be great to add some place for parents to have a voice in some of this. I know that there are some, but when I bring parents to things, they don't feel like their voice is making a difference. It would be really cool if there was a way to get parents to advocate for something where they can actually see a difference, that they feel empowered to do more.
You should talk to people like Crystal. She's on here, I think, still. So she's with the Mad Moms, and there are parents that really in the DD system and the SMI, they are getting action. So
That's
it is
awesome.
happening, and it's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, we definitely do a lot of collaboration with OIFAs from the different insurance companies. We do
Yeah.
a lot of meetings with them, and letting them know what our families are saying, letting them know what our challenges are that we're facing. And, they are aware of the impact that we have. And we let them know, like, hey, in order for us to continue this impact, we need that, right? We continue to have those meetings with the insurance companies and letting them know, where we see in the default that's happening, the difficulties of not getting, the funding that we need. So having those meetings too to advocate, and we do our best to make sure that the parents are able to do so as well too. So they know how to advocate to these insurance companies. We tell them call the members line. That's your right to do so.
So the OIFAs are, we have one OIFA person, Libby, two, and Mackenzie from two plans. Two had to get off early. So there were people listening today
Yeah.
from the different plans, from 4 different plans. One was on the executive level. So you were heard.
That's
Just
good.
wanted you guys to know that.
I am happy to hear that too. We hope so. We try to get heard in any platform that we can all over. So fingers are crossed.
There used to be a program that trained parents on different things to help them learn how to be an advocate. I mean, we do work with them to have a parent voice. But that was super helpful. Parents felt empowered just by learning those skills and going through that program. And then being able to go to meetings and use their voice to advocate. It
Yes,
would
we
be really,
have. Yes, I remember. And we got to get back to that.
yes, that would be amazing.
Okay. Mackenzie, you're on mute.
Yes, I am. We have about 5 minutes left. Any final questions before we wrap up with our last little bit of announcements? Okay. Well, we are so grateful for your all's time and willingness to share and for your obvious passion for this field, which thank you. Our next Mental Health Monday is coming up on Monday, May 26th. The topic is TBA, so hang in there, we'll get it out to you. Our next NAPFC meeting is Wednesday, May 21st at 1. And then be on the lookout for on the NAMI Yavapai website for any updates and event times, as well as Zoom links. And then we also have our Arizona Peer and Family Coalition website where you can find the NAPFC page. So thank you all. I hope you have a fabulous day and week.
Yes. I will get these flyers out to you too.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Suma, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you guys have services in Flagstaff any longer?
I can't say. I know we just recently hired in. I can't pronounce it. Sholo, Sholo. Yes, it's so hard to get a tongue twister. So I know Flagstaff was one of the areas that we were looking at. So that will be our Kingman location. But I can connect you with Dan. He'll know exactly where the
Yeah,
staff are
nice.
located. So we
Okay.
spread it out.
That's fine. I'm a parent peer support and manager at FIC, so I can't use the services at FIC. And I was enrolled, my kids were enrolled with my kid for a while.
Oh,
And
nice.
then they aren't any longer, but it'd be really helpful. this
I can
time.
follow up today. I'll send him a message today and I'll get back to you in like maybe an
Yeah.
hour, depends on when he answers me.
Okay, just let them know that like I had canceled my services, but that I am definitely interested again.
Okay, absolutely. I will get to him right now.
All right,
For
thank you so
sure.
much.
Of course.
Not
Take
trying
care.
to be
Thanks for having
nosy.
us.
Just didn't want to cut the meeting off on you all.
No,
No,
thank you for
you're okay.
calling me because I'm sitting here waiting for 10:30 and I'm like, what's going on?
I'm sorry.
No, my day has been thrown off. Once my nanny canceled, that was it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, great.
Right on a Monday morning too. That's tough.
And she was quiet the whole entire, everyone else speaking until it was my turn. I just
Yeah.
knew she was going to do that to me.
Oh,
That is being a mom.
Yes.
you
All
did
right,
great.
everyone, take care. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.